All right, a very good evening and welcome to today's KMS Webinar session. My name is Ravi Mudaliar and I have recently joined as manager. Let's move on to today's topic, that is recent development under GST. And to lead this discussion, we have CA Disha Shah. Disha has been a dedicated member of professional community for several years, having qualified as chartered accountant 6 years ago. What is particularly notable is her study journey with Kandar Mehta and Shah for over 9 years, where she has focused almost exclusively on indirect taxation and GST since the laws were first introduced. Rather than just theoretical knowledge, Disha brings the perspective of fellow practitioner who handles these compliance challenges daily. She has previously shared insights through various GST sessions and has contributed as a co-faculty at the VAT Training Center and lectures conducted at Institution of Chartered Accountants of India. We look forward to a practical session focused on the latest updates. Please join me in welcoming CA Disha Shah. Over to you, Disha.
Thank you, Ravi, for the introduction. My
I have muted all. Disha, please unmute yourself.
okay. Is sound is okay or is it is echoing?
It's good. We are good to go.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ravi, for the introduction. I have been working with the same firm over 9 years and practicing in GST since the first day it was implemented. During this journey, I have realized one thing that in GST, none of us are experts. We all are permanent students because the law moves so fast that we have to learn and unlearn something new every week. So, people often ask me that how I stay mentally sharp as a CA. So, it's easy. I don't do crosswords or Sudoku. I just reconcile GST with books. So that's all mental gymnastics I need. So today I have curated some key areas from the recent developments. So we will be going through fast track registrations, credit notes and IMS, and GSTAT. And if time permits, I will take up another 3-4 topics. I'm sharing my screen. Yeah, is it visible?
Yes, it's
Okay.
up.
Okay. First of all, simplified GST registration. Now, before we understand what is simplified GST registration and why we want to understand what's the need of simplified GST registration. At the time of migration, at the time of introduction of GST, process was very much simple. Like you submit some details, some documents, and you just get the registration. However, over a period of time, there came up so many cases of fake registrations. So department officials started demanding details and documents that were not necessary at all and not demanded by law or not required by the law. So government came up with the instructions like the list of documents that can be asked by officer for verification of specific detail. You can just imagine the type of queries raised by the officer, like why director is residing in a city or state that is different from the state of company, or how you will manage to conduct business from your residential address. So this all conditions are not anywhere in the GST law, but this was asked by the department officials because they want to curb fake registration. So the small taxpayers were suffering this. So there was a need of simplified GST registrations for small taxpayers. Now, what is simplified GST registration? The taxpayers whose liability, monthly tax liability is less than rupees 2.5 lakhs can able to get themselves registered within 3 working days with the department. So why it is low risk applicants? Because when my monthly tax liability for registered taxpayers is up to 2.5 lakhs only, so there will not be much ITC on the stake. So for low risk applicants only, the simplified GST registration is notified. Here the applicant has to self-assess the tax liability, and there is no separate process or separate form that has to be filled. This is the normal process, normal registration process. And after generation of TRN, there is one simple option that whether your monthly tax liability is up to 2.5 lakhs, and if you put yes over there, then you will go under fast track registration and will get your registration done in 3 days only. In simplified registration, when you get the registration in 3 days, there is compulsory Aadhaar authentication. You have to Aadhaar authenticate yourself, and then only you will able to get registered. Also, there is a flexibility of opt-out. Say in any month your tax liability just crossed the threshold limit, then you can simply withdraw from the scheme. And this has been effective from the 1st November 2025. So we can understand from the example then, first applicant 1 has liability of B2B supply, monthly liability is 2.15 lakhs rupees, and other is 11 lakhs. His total tax liability is 2.26 lakhs only. So here, as his monthly tax liability for B2B supplies is less than 2.5 lakhs, he is very well eligible to get himself registered by fast track option. Applicant 2 is having 2.45 lakhs, which is also below the limit of 2.5 lakhs. However, his total tax liability is more than 2.5 lakhs rupees, that is 2.56. We have to check only B2B, that is registered supplies liability. So that is below the 2.5 lakh limit, though he is very well eligible to get himself registered by this option. However, applicant 3, he is having liability more than 2.5 lakh for B2B supplies, so he will not be able to get himself registered under this scheme. Now, once we have registered by this option, there is also a facility to withdraw from the scheme. Now, how we can withdraw from the scheme? There is simply one form on the GST portal with form RAG 32, which one has to file to withdraw from the scheme. Once a person get registration under the scheme, for withdrawal also there are some preconditions. What are that? If I have get registration before 1st April 2026, then I have to file minimum 3 returns under this scheme, and then only I can withdraw myself from the scheme. And if it is after 1st April 2026, then 1 month's return is required to be filed, and then I can withdraw from the scheme. Again, once I file the form for withdrawal from the scheme, the process is same as the normal registration. I have to get myself authenticated. The application will be submitted to the officer. He will authenticate the same, and same way the normal registration get processed. Also, there is some restrictions. Like if I have applied for withdrawal from the scheme, till the time my application get approved, I cannot make any amendment in my application details, my registration details. Also, I cannot apply for cancellation of registration. From which date the cancellation, from which date the new withdrawal from the scheme will mark as effective? The first day of the month in which order has been received by you. And once you have withdrawn from the scheme, you have received the order, you can report the liability more than 2.5 lakhs rupees. Now, as the name says, simplified registration scheme, it is not as simple as it sounds. There are some queries, like the queries for which we do not have answered till now. Suppose if a taxpayer get registered in the month of January by this option, and the threshold get crossed in the month of March, and threshold got crossed, his liability for B2B supplies get crossed for more than 2.5 lakhs rupees, then will he be able to report the turnover which is more than 2.5 lakhs rupees, or whether he will be able to withdraw from the scheme, because there was that precondition that if I have registered myself before April 2026, then I have to file monthly returns for the 3 months. And if I have filed only 2 returns for the 2 month, and my threshold get crossed in the March, then whether I will be able to withdraw from the scheme, or whether if not, then I will be able to report my turnover. And if answer to both the questions are no, then who will be responsible for the turnover which is not reported? Second, if a taxpayer has filed an application for amendment, and during this time, when the application is pending with the officer for approval, if my the threshold get crossed, then whether I will be able to apply under the withdrawal form, or I have to wait till the time my application gets approved. And if I am supposed to withdraw my application, I have applied for the same, and it gets rejected by the officer, then what is the consequences? What I have to do further? So all these are the questions for which we are still do not have answer and waiting for the government to clarify such things. Now, postal discount and credit notes. As we all know, the section 15 provides the discount, credit note discount, that pre-agreed discount. If a person want to issue credit note for the discount given post supply, then it must be pre-agreed. If it is not pre-agreed, then a person cannot issue credit note for that discount. The person cannot give discount. And the credit note which is given to the recipient, ITC for the same has been must have been reversed by the recipient. Now, the section has been proposed to amend that requirement of pre-agreed discount has been removed. It is proposed to be removed. That will notify soon. So now onward, once the provision gets notified, the person can give a post-sale discount without even it is not pre-agreed. And also there was some requirement of credit note to get linked with relevant invoices that has also been removed. Now, post-sale discount can be given the same way the credit note can be issued under Section 34. Again, as the amendment is also proposed to be done in Section 34 to provide that when the credit note is issued by the supplier, the recipient has to reverse the ITC for the same. Now, this is the Section 34 amendment, wherein there was only provided that when that no reduction in output liability of the supplier shall be permitted if the incidence of tax has been passed on. However, that has proposed to be amended to link with Section 15, saying that input tax credit is attributable to such credit note if availed has been reversed by the recipient. And in any other cases, that is in B2C cases, the incidence of tax has not been passed on. Then only a provider can take the benefit of the credit note. Now, what will be the change? So as of now, as per the existing provision, the reduction of tax was not allowed if the incidence of has been passed on. However, in proposed amendment is much clearer than the existing provision that ITC attributable to the credit note is to be reversed by the recipient if he has availed the same and if he is registered. And in any other cases, incidence has not been passed on to the other person. Then a supplier can very well reduce the amount of liability for the credit note. Now, for the post-supply discount, as per the current provision, the post-sale discount was allowed only if the ITC attributable to the discount has been reversed by the recipient as per the conditions given in Section 15. However, the proposed amendment ensures that for all the credit notes, not just the post-sale credit notes, get that ITC reversal wala condition. Like if the recipient has reversed the ITC, then only I will be able to reduce my liability. Also, they have always put that condition that recipient must have reversed that liability. However, they do not have any mechanism till now to verify the same. How a supplier can verify that whether the recipient has reversed the ITC or not? So, as per the existing provision, they will come up with a circular number 212, wherein they provide the CA certificate. Like you just go and come up with CA certificate that the recipient has reversed the ITC. However, it has been withdrawn. So for proposed amendment, we can say that as per the new IMS functionality, which has been introduced recently, one can get assurance that yes, recipient has accepted the credit note, so he has reversed the ITC. So I will be able to get the benefit of credit note issued. in the year-end discounts, till the time it was happening that if the discounts were not pre-agreed, like performance discount, turnover-based discount, which was obviously not pre-agreed. So as per this condition of section 15, I was not able to issue credit note with GST. So I was supposed to issue credit note which is commercial in nature, so without GST credit note. However, as per the proposed provision, there will not be any need to issue a commercial credit note, as I will be able to issue credit note even if the discount was not pre-agreed. What was the timeline to issue credit note? Obviously, if my timeline is getting completed, my timeline is expired for issue of credit note, then only I have to issue commercial credit note. And as we discussed that till now there was no any mechanism to check the ITC reversal by the recipient, but we can say that by way of introduction of IMS, it has been become possible. Now, invoice management system. What is invoice management system? That is one additional layer which has been added before generation of GSTAT 2B. Now, till this time, what was happening till October 24, the supplier was supposed to file GSTR 1, with ITC of which was getting reflected in the GSTR 2B of the recipient. However, we have faces issues like if someone's credit note is getting reflected in my GSTR 2B, and that I might get notice for reversal of that ITC which is reflected in my GSTR 2B. So it might happen that the credit note which are not pertaining to me might get reflected in my GSTR 2B, and I'm getting notices for the same. So government came up with the IMS, the layer before GSTAT 2B, wherein a recipient can accept or reject the records based on his purchases. If some credit notes are not pertaining to me, then I simply can reject the same on IMS and it will not become part of my GSTAT 2B. So it becomes easier. This is the flow, how GSTR, how every month the flow of returns get done. This is first GSTR 1 is filed by the supplier. The records which are filed by the supplier in his GSTR 1 getting reflected in IMS. Once it is any action is taken in IMS, and if it is not taken, then everything is deemed approved, getting reflected in GSTR 2B, and after that recipient can file his GSTR 3B. At the time of introduction of IMS, that is in October 2024, there are only two options: either you accept the records, either you reject the records. However, after 1 year of introduction, that is in October 25, they have come up with option of keeping some records pending. Like if there are list of records which you can keep pending for a specific period of 1 month or one tax period. There are credit notes, downward amendment credit notes, upward amendment of credits. There are some transactions, the 4 transactions listed here on the screen. Now, when the IMS was introduced, and first of all we check the credit note provision, then we understand IMS. Now, combining together, if we thought of ideal case scenario, then what it can be? A supplier has uploaded credit note in his GSTR 1. Recipient is getting it accepted in his IMS. So the same is becoming part of his GSTR 2B, and he is getting reversed in GSTR 3B. So everything is getting perfectly done. However, world is not perfect as we think. So let us have some scenarios. What can happen in case of credit note uploaded by the supplier and is rejected by the recipient? Suppose in simple case scenario, credit note is uploaded in October 25 months return. Recipient is rejected in his IMS. Now what will happen? Liability of supplier for the next month, that is November 25, will get automatically increased in his GSTR 3B. It will auto-populate the amount of credit note, which has to be paid by supplier. However, as of now, the GSTR 3B is editable format, so one can reduce the amount of that credit note to that extent and can pay the liability. However, if the liability has been paid by the supplier and he is not taking any further action, he is keeping all the records as it is, then what will happen on the year end? His GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B will have mismatch. the credit note which was issued by him was very well eligible in GSTR 1, reflecting in GSTR 1, but the liability for the same has not been reduced in GSTR 3B. So there will be mismatch. So what one can do? For the credit notes which are rejected by the recipient, one can do that he can amend the invoice and credit note both to the zero value, by that nullifying the transaction. However, this is not the solution which is provided by the law. This is the solution which has been curated by the taxpayers by the time once this problem is identified. Now, even this in this case also, if I have paid the liability in November 25, then there will be mismatch, same as scenario 1. And if I have reduced my liability in GSTR 3B manually, then my 1 and 3B will get matched, and there will be the transaction will get nullified in the returns. There was an advisory in June 25 which was issued by the government, wherein they say that if I if as a supplier I report some transaction is in my GSTR 1 and the same is rejected by the recipient by mistake, then what will I have to do? Then I will have to report the same transaction again, either in amendment section or either by GSTR 1A. The same will get reflected in recipient GSTR IMS again, and he can take the action. And as I am reporting the same transaction again, there is no change in value, no change in number. My liability will not get impacted. So suppose here, first time I have reported a credit note that is rejected by the recipient, my liability is gets increased. However, after again I am communicating with the recipient, having again uploaded the credit note. However, due to some miscommunication or some problem, recipient is rejected the credit note again in IMS. Then what will happen? Again, my liability will get increased. Here, the second time when I upload the credit note second time, it is considered as amendment to the credit note. So once I go by this, I mean, I again upload the invoice or credit note which was rejected by the recipient, I will not be able to give effect like this to amend the invoice and credit note to zero, because on GST portal, any document is allowed to amend only once. So once this is done, there is always the mismatch in my GST 1 and 3B liability. Also, as of now, my liability gets automatically increased when credit note is rejected by the recipient. However, as of now, I am able to get it manually corrected and reduce the liability and pay the same. However, as per the advisory issued in past by the GST portal, the liability reflected in GST 3B is supposed to be freezed. It will become non-editable over a period of time. Then what will remain with the supplier? What remedy will remain with the supplier is a question. Also, in scenario 4, if my liability is getting increased, after 1 or 2 months, I decided to amend the credit note to the zero value so that my books gets matched with the returns. However, how the portal shows that when I have issued one credit note in the month of October, for which my liability has been reduced in the month of October. Now, if in Feb 26, I am amending that credit note to the zero value, my liability is getting increased. However, it is considered like my liability of October month is getting increased. So if I file this, I mean, this is the auto-populated figure from the portal. If I save this and move further, then it will auto-populate the amount of interest based on the October month, from the October to the February for the credit note wrongly reported by me. So even if there is a mistake of the recipient, the interest burden is on the supplier. So we have to think twice. Now, obviously, till the time from the IMS has been introduced, there are a number of advisories has been issued along with FAQs. So in one of the FAQs, they have provided this table wherein different scenarios were given, and based on different actions taken by the recipient on the record, how the ITC and supplier's liability will get impacted. So in case of original invoice or credit note, simple, if it is accepted, then there is no issue. If it is rejected, in invoice, there will not be any impact on the liability of the supplier. But in case of credit note, if it is getting rejected, then full amount of liability will be added to the GST review of the supplier. In case of invoice, if the original invoice was accepted and after that the supplier amend the invoice to the upward value, then again if it is accepted, then no issue. And in case of invoice, if it is rejected, then in case of invoice, if at the time of invoice, when supplier reports the invoice in the GSTR 1, he pays off the liability. And if it is rejected by the recipient, then obviously liability of the supplier is not getting reduced. However, in case of credit note, if I report the credit note and I reduce my liability, but if it
Disha, seems you are muted.
okay. So I will repeat my last sentence. In case of invoice, if I report invoice in GSTR 1 and pay off the liability, and the same.
Once again, I think it's on mute.
Okay, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible now.
Okay. Okay, for invoices, my liability is not getting reduced, but for credit note, obviously my liability is getting increased. Okay. Here I have also some questions which needs to be answered. Like how to handle mismatch. The question is the same which we discussed in between the scenarios. When supplier reports the credit note and recipient rejects it, and whether amending it to 0 is the only option. And as we know that the turnover limit for e-invoice has been reduced to 5 crore, then almost all the suppliers are under the tax net of the 5 crore. Then how to handle this when e-invoice data and actual data is getting mismatched? And what if I get notice for the same? Again, whether I have to pay interest liability for credit note reported in October, which is amended in February. And what will I do when GST 3B figures will get freezed on the basis of GST 1? So here as of now, I have only one solution, that I should not issue a credit note without communicating with the recipient. Otherwise, I will ending up with all this mess. So better to communicate. Now, the most interesting topic as of now, that is goods and services tax appellate tribunal. We will quickly go through our forms, appealable issues, filing timeline, pre-deposits, appeal filing process, and some issues. So this is the list of forms which are applicable to GSTAT. The most important form is APL 05, that is appeal to the appellate tribunal. Once appeal is filed, the provisional acknowledgement is getting generated in APL 02 Part A. And once it is verified by the officers, the final acknowledgement is received in Part 2 of APL 02A. APL 06 is for cross objections to be filed by the other party. APL 07 is appealed by the department, and form GSTAT form 1, 2, and 3 are there. That is memorandum, internal application, and additional evidence application. Now there are some powers of GSTAT, like what a GSTAT can do. It can pass the orders, it can confirm, modifying, or annul the order. It can provide interim stay, refer back case to the original adjudicating authority, rectify the mistake, and demand records or documents from the subordinate authorities. Here we have hierarchy in the GST. Like first of all, adjudicating officer is passing the order. After that, first appellate authority, which is Commissioner Appeals. After that, a second appellate authority, which is GSTAT, then High Court, and then Supreme Court. Now, what are the appealable issues? determination of tax liability, eligibility of ITC, classification, valuation, refund, and registration. These are all appealable issues with the GST. And who can file appeal? Any taxpayer aggrieved by the order of appellate authority, that is, Commissioner Appeals, can file the appeal with the GST. What is the due date for filing of appeal? It is 3 months from the date of communication of the order. However, as the GSTAT has formed recently, for the order passed before 1st April 2006, they have provided timeline till 30th June 2026, and on or after 1st April 2026, that is 3 months timeline. Now, this was the original timeline, which was for which order was issued by the GST, wherein the staggered filing timeline was mentioned. How it goes, if my period of original filing falls between a specific period, then my filing of GST appeal will start from specific date till 30th June. However, this was again withdrawn afterwards, stating that the GST portal is working very good, so there is no need to have this staggered filing manner. So they have withdrawn this, and portal has kept open for all the taxpayers. What is the pre-deposit requirement? That is full amount admitted plus 10% of disputed tax. There is also some court fees, which is not there till the time of commissioner appeals. We have to pay court fees. And what is the court fees? Minimum fees is 5,000 rupees and maximum is 25,000 rupees. For no demand case, that if there is no demand, then minimum fees of 5,000 rupees has to be paid. And this, how this fees is getting calculated? There is standard fee of rupees 1,000 per 1 lakh of demand. And for rectification application only, there is no any fees. Now we will quickly go through the appeal filing process. Now on the GSTAT portal, when you log in, you have to create user ID and password. And once you log in, you will have a dashboard like this, wherein there are draft cases, payment details, e-file cases, and appellant and respondent corners. To start the filing of appeal, say you have received any DRC07, any order from Commissioner Appeals, and you want to file appeal to the GST, you have to click on the appellant corner, wherein you will have the option of appeal filing. On clicking the same, you will have a pop-up of GST declaration. What does it say? That we hereby declare that this is our first appeal and we have not filed any appeal previously, either before any other forum or a High Court or Supreme Court. On confirming this only, you will be able to move further. Now this is the main dashboard, wherein you are having different sections. From the top of the screen, you can see that there are order details, basic details, case details, appellant details, respondent details, representative details, demand details, document and checklist. This all has to be filed one by one. First of all, the orders details. The start point is the selection of the order number, the against which order you have to file an appeal. Also, the login ID, how one is supposed to create login ID on the GSTAT portal. It is per registration. Say I'm a taxpayer registered in the 10 different states. I have to create my GSTAT login ID for 10 different states, because the login ID of the GSTAT is the GST of the taxpayer. So state-wise login I will have over there. So for specific state, I have to select from the drop down against which order I want to file an appeal. On selection of the same, there are some specific details which are required to be filed. And after having filled this, you have to confirm. Then you will move forward to next page. Now, the next page is basic details, wherein you have select the act relevant section, type of case, whether you want to whether your case involves the POS issue or jurisdiction details. After that, you will have case details, wherein there are different sections: case details, category of case summary, about the appellant, and statement of facts. Here there are multiple specific boxes are given, wherein you can fill the relevant details. After having this, you will have to add appellant details and then respondent details. You can find it from the order you have received. So you have to fill this over here. Also, you will get auto-populated with order on this end of the screen. You can see on the end of the screen that there are some orders which are getting auto-populated directly as you have entered the details of relevant order. So you have to just check and confirm. After that, you have to add representative details. Now, each and every representative, either advocate, other chartered accountant, or any other person who want to appear before the tribunal have to create their login credentials on the GSTAT portal. Once done that, he will have his name here in the representative list. Suppose I want to nominate my chartered accountant for represent the case. Then if he has created his login ID and passwords, then I have to just click on the name. It will be auto-populated in the drop-down here. And if you have not any representative at the time of filing of appeal, you can simply select option in person, that you will attend the appeal, and afterwards you can also authorize someone else. After that, you will have the demand window, that what was the amount determined in DSA 07, what was the disputed amount, and what is the amount which is admitted by you. Based on this, amount of free deposit will get calculated. Here you will get the calculation of free deposit. The payment of free deposit, if you have already done it on the GST portal, it will get auto-populated here and you will have a pop-up that your free deposit payment is confirmed. So you need not to pay anything else. And if your free deposit is not paid, or there is some additional amount which has to be paid as a pre-deposit, it will get auto-populated here. After that, there is also payment of court fee which has to be paid. There are two options for online and offline. You have to just simply select the relevant options and you will direct it for the payment. After that, the most important window, that is upload document. All the documents which are necessary for appeal has to be uploaded here. Now, when you make the payment and click on the next button, you will have pop-up like this. This pop-up is saying simply that how the documents is to be required to be uploaded. That PDF is to be uploaded. The document has to be uploaded in grayscale with 300 dpi. Each PDF has to be of 20 MB size and up to 100 pages. If your size is getting bigger or you have more than 100 pages, you have to split your files. Also, physical file has to be submitted, which is similar to the online submission. Here also, we have list of document types and we have to upload the documents in the same hierarchy as it is reflected in document type. So once done this, we will have to click on next button. And here we have a checklist of almost 29 to 30 questions. Here are the questions I have provided the screenshot. There are also some questions which create ambiguity. Like here it is provided that have all the documents uploaded been color scanned. Now, if one sees here the pop out which was there at the time of upload of documents, here it is provided that the documents has to be uploaded in grayscale. Whereas in questionnaire they are asking that whether the document has been uploaded in color scanned. So they are contradicting each other. Have appeal been prepared in English? Whether any orders which were passed in language other than English has been translated? Whether are all affidavits properly attested and identified? Have all documents been uploaded with correct indexing in single PDF? There it was saying that you have to split the PDF if your pages are more than 100 pages. However, here they are saying that all the documents have to be uploaded in single PDF. So there are questions which creates ambiguity. Here they have one question like any other. How there can be a question like any other? So we don't know how to answer this. Also, they have requirement of Times New Roman font and size of A12, which is asked directly in the questionnaire. So we have to prepare the documents like this. Once done, after providing the checklist, this will be, you will have the final review of appeal drafted, and after that you can simply submit it. However, there are also so many problems while submitting the appeal. The DSC is not working. They are showing error as the servers are busy, and just you will not have idea when your appeal gets submitted even without signing. So there are problems in submitting. Once submitted, you will have a provisional acknowledgement. Also, there are some options of handling defects. If you file the appeal and you have defect notice, then how to handle that? There is application filing as well. Now, action point for taxpayer. Suppose a person want to file an appeal, then what steps, what precautions he has to done before the filing of appeal? Now he have to file appeal in advance. He has to plan for pre-deposit because without payment of pre-deposit, you can't file an appeal. You have to file within time, and also you have to have some buffer period because portal is not working that properly as expected. Online filing is mandatory. Now, we will discuss some critical issues and challenges that are faced on the portal. There are procedure related issues, some issues which create ambiguity and clarifications are required, law and rules related issues, and recommendations. First of all, procedure related issues. Now, when you go in upload the document section, there is one requirement of uploading of affidavit. Now, as per the law, affidavit is required only for condonation of delay, addition of new evidences like this. However, the portal does not allow you to move further without uploading an affidavit, even though it is not applicable in your case. So, this has to be amended, otherwise, a person will not be able to file an appeal if he has not filed an affidavit, which is already not required in his case. Sometimes there are issues like some buttons are not visible in some of the logins, like deletion button, re-uploading button are not visible. So there are no answers to this. The court fees payment or pre-deposit payment, once done, even it is done online, it takes time on getting reflected as successful. Until the time it gets successful, it gets status as successful, you will not be able to move further to the next window. So you have to take buffer time before you file an appeal. You cannot take up it on the last day of the filing. There are conflicting document guidance, as we see that there are whether we have to upload the documents in color scan or grayscale, whether physical submission is required or not, how the signing would be done, whether English translation is compulsory, and how to self declaration. So this all are the problems which has to be answered in an upcoming time. Otherwise, a person will not be able to correctly file the appeal as required. Here are some questions as we discussed. The portal limits 100 pages and 20 MB per PDF. However, the question has asked us to upload all the documents in single PDF only. There cannot be a question like any other question. Repetitive and incorrect references in the questionnaire. Also, the date of filing of appeal we get as the date when we started the filing of appeal, like the date when we select the order details and save that, the same date has been auto populated as date of filing of appeal in the provisional acknowledgement received. Also, there are the case details window on the GSTAT portal. There we have to provide grounds, a statement of facts and grounds of appeals. Also, there is the 2000 characters limit, which is not sufficient to provide grounds of appeal and brief issues in the window. And whether it is compulsory and whether it is required, even if we are submitting the same in PDF file after signing it. Statement of facts and case history. There also there is no clarity that which type of content has to be uploaded. Also, if at the time of filing of appeal, I have selected some person as my representative and afterwards, due to some reasons, it is getting changed, Then how am I required to proceed further? There is no clarification. Also, there are some requirements in the law which has to be in line with the portal. Like portal requires mandatory affidavit as we discussed, but in GST law, there are some specific cases only wherein it is required. The undertaking part. When we can start the filing of appeal only after we select the undertaking, only after we confirm the undertaking, whether it is required under the law or it is the portal's requirement. We have to select the section after selecting the act, and there is only one column or one field for selecting the section. Now, what if I have multiple sections and multiple laws? Then how should I proceed further? And what will be the impact if I misclassify the section or order? Also, as compared to GSTAT, earlier there was CSTAT. The fees are quite higher in GSTAT. Like earlier, the CSTAT fees was only 5,000 rupees. So for early hearing, and in GSTAT, it is very much higher. Also in CTAT, CSTAT only it was 500 rupees. So this increased the financial burden on the taxpayer and discouraged the filings for the genuine application. Also, as in the law, in the rule, it is provided that the orders or the documents which are not in English has to be translated in English, then only should be uploaded. Now, this adds the additional cost and burden on the taxpayer. So, as we see that earlier there was a staggered filing manner. After that, it has been withdrawn, and in January they came up with a order saying that the officer, the registrar, should take a lenient view because there are some number of problems on the GSTAT portal. So, at the time of verification of application, the registrar should not verify the documents very strictly and has to provide some liberal view. These are some statistics of GSTAT filing as on date. So till now, it has been started from November, and till now only 3,400 appeals has been filed, wherein 1,700 has been filed in the current month only. So half of the appeals has been filed in the current month only. So from the November till the Feb, in 4 months' time, only 1,700 appeals has been filed. So till now, only this much appeal has been filed, and this is the number. It consists of appeals filed all over the India. So there are number of appeals which is pending to be filed and might not be filing because of the portal issues. So there has to be some clarifications from the government for the portal not working properly. Now, here are some key differences between Central Excise Service Tax Tribunal and GST Tribunal. Now, mode of filing, obviously, it ingested it is electronically from the very start. CSTAT earlier it was physically filing. Now, post November 25, it is mandatory online. Mode of hearing, obviously, the online hearing will be there and physical option will also be there. Fees here it is 5,000 to 25,000, and earlier it was 500 to 10,000. Adjournment, earlier SASTAT has a power to adjourn as he may deem fit, but in GSTAT it has a power to adjourn the hearing 3 times per party only. Disposal timeline, suggested timeline only there of 1 year, and in SASTAT it was 3 years. And extraordinary powers to extend the timelines to meet the ends of justice. And SASTAT it was not provided explicitly. So here we have pointed out some recommendations which are there for the portal and for the law, so that gested filing can be run smoothly. Document management. There are some unnecessary document requirements on the portal that has to be removed. The validation checklist has to be redrafted in accordance with the law, and the redundant questions has to be removed. Payment. As of now, the portal does not allow you to move to the next window if your payment is not done. So it has to be done like if your payment, you have done the payment, but it is not getting reflected, one should be able to complete all the other formalities till the time it is getting reflected. So you have to unlink the document access from the that payment successful status, clarification for the different type of characters, legal framework and language policy has to be amended. Here's some key instruction what a person can do before the starting the GSTAT filing, appeal with the GSTAT. He has to keep ready the mandatory documents. Pre-deposit and court fees has to be paid. Every orders and every document has to be certified. He has to give authorization to the representative, and DSC and all other things has to be kept handy in order to smooth filing. So that's now for today. I hope we had some. I am able to point out some new things or new ideas to for the listeners. So thank you very much, and I'm open to question.
Hello everyone, let's utilize this platform. Let's ask questions. In chat, we have got one question. If some supplier issue invoice and credit note to nullify that invoice, so what we to do? Reject both or accept both? You're on mute, Disha.
Okay. We actually have to see the facts. You are saying that if some supplier is issues invoice and credit note to nullify the invoice. First of all, at the time when he had issued invoice, whether you have accepted the same and have availed the credit, and then only we can answer the question whether the invoice was actual required to be issued. Both
So
in the
both in
same, and
same.
then I guess the transaction was cancelled on from the both the sides. Then yes, we can accept the both. Then transaction will get nullified from his side and our side both. If there are change in facts or you want to specify some, you can unmute yourself.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Sometime supplier issue the invoice in the same month and same credit note we can found the nullify that invoice in same month.
Okay.
So invoice is wrongly uploaded, so he or she uploaded the credit note to nullify it. Well, invoice is not for me or credit note also not for me. So why should I accept both? Because
Okay.
none of the is related to my business.
Right. You can reject the both. If it
If
is
I
not
reject,
pertaining to
if
you,
I reject, there is a one problem. If I reject the both, if I reject the credit note, ultimately his liability will be increased in GSTR1. So
right.
it also create a problem for him. So
Right.
what is the right way?
First of all, you have to communicate to the supplier why he has done this. Like if
To
he has
communicate with
wrongly,
supplier,
sorry.
there is a wrongly uploading, there is a wrongly issuing the e-invoice. That's why they are issue against the credit note and generate the e-invoice for the same. So both are visible on the portal and both are visible on IMS.
Okay. Then you can communicate with the supplier that he in the next month, as of now, you keep pending it, and next month he can amend the board to the zero. Then it is also okay. Then you need not to accept or reject, and his question will also be not there.
Sometimes practically it is not possible when we are dealing with the bigger companies. They are not providing that much of answer. Okay, why they have do that? They just upload the invoice in the systems and they just upload the credit note to nullify that invoice. Just communicate we have wrongly uploaded the invoice and we have also issued the credit note for the same. It is nullify the transaction. Bus. That's only.
Okay,
So
then if
it's
we
create a confusion for us. Okay, what is the right action for that? If we accept the both, so it is included in my accounts in GST, which is not relevant to me. If I reject both, it also create a problem for them.
Okay. See, there is one option on the GST portal to you can create via that to the supplier that this has been wrongly issued in my case. So what should how should I proceed? Now, in both the case, if you reject both the things, then obviously your liability will not get affected, and also the recipient, the supplier will not have any impact on his liability. Same way, if you accept both, then also you will, even though it is not pertaining to you, you will have zero liability in your GSTAT to be. So you have to decide based on the relation with the company, then how you should proceed further.
Okay. Thank you.
Disha, I think in this particular scenario, which Rupesh bhai was saying, I think the second option seems to be viable, where you accept both the things and simultaneously communicate. I mean, send an email to the customer that this invoice does not pertain to me, but because of IMS system and the credit note, I don't want you to, put into problem by rejecting both. Because if I reject the credit note, then again liability will be added over there. Then again, Rupesh bhai said that the supplier is very big supplier, then again I could face some problem from their side. So you can say that I'll accept the invoice, I'll accept the credit note, I'll not book in my books of account, but I'll also communicate to my supplier and say for example, I'll keep in communication, mail something like that. So if at all some department side query raised, then I can say that even though this invoice and credit note does not pertain to me, but because of IMS system and because of this big customer, I have to do this, which is not in my books of account, but I have not done anything wrong, and eventually answer will be zero. So I think second option of accepting the both the things and simultaneously communicating with the supplier, just sending an email. Of course, we may receive an answer from there or not, just communicating that this does not pertain to me, but because of I'm a system, I'm forced to accept both the things, and I think that might solve the problem.
Right, sir.
Thank you,
Because
sir.
in future, if liability gets freezed, then the accepting is the only option. And we can also communicate on the GST portal. There is one option, so it will also can shown as a proof to the department whenever
Correct.
asked.
Correct. But the real problem will be that some invoice is raised from the supplier, and I don't know whether some credit note will be raised in future or not. So what to do with that invoice will be the real problem.
Let's take one more question and then we'll wrap it up.
Ravi, well, let's wrap it up then.
Sure. So thank you so much, Disha, for the insightful session, and thanks to the wonderful audience for the question, and thanks to Rashmin sir for adding the insights. Thanks everyone.